Welcome to day 225 of 66 in 26. We're starting another new book today, the book of Numbers. This is the fourth book of the Bible. This is part of the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible. And we are at the point where the Israelites have come out of Egypt, out of slavery in the Exodus. 13 months later is now the setting of the beginning of the book of Numbers. For the last roughly year, the Israelites have been encamped around Mount Sinai, where Moses was given the 10 Commandments and the other regulations of the law from God, and then given to the people. The people have constructed the tabernacle according to the Lord's commandments. And now the people are getting ready to break camp and move to the promised land. The book of Numbers, we're going to find out here in just a couple weeks, is a story of the lack of faith and trust in the Lord by Israel. And we're going to see that instead of moving directly to the promised land, because of their lack of trust, their unfaithfulness, God is going to have them wander in the desert for 40 years while that generation that came out of Egypt dies off and the next generation moves into the promised land. That's coming later, but for now, God is getting the people ready to move toward the promised land. So these first 4 chapters are part of a census that's being taken of the entire generation, those who came out of Egypt, those who have been born since that time while they were around Mount Sinai, and now they're getting ready to move like an army toward the promised land. And so these first chapters, we hear God giving instruction about when they move and the tabernacle is set in the middle of their camp. There are going to be 3 of the 12 tribes on each side, 3 tribes to the north, 3 tribes to the south, 3 tribes to the east, and 3 tribes to the west, as they surround the tabernacle. And then when they move, they're going to march in line. So one line has 3 tribes, and one of the tribes is given precedence or priority and leadership of those other 2 tribes in that line. And so there'll be 4 lines, and then the Ark of the Covenant going in front of them all, and then the tabernacle in between the first and second line, and then all the furnishings of the temple going between the second and third line. And so that's how God gives instructions for them to march toward the promised land. So we're seeing the census, that's why it's called Numbers, and the census being taken of all the Israelite clans according to those tribes. And we see a number that is well over 600,000 people just in men of fighting age. And then, of course, that doesn't include the younger children, the women, but we're probably talking about a number that's close to 1.5 or 2 million people that have come out of Egypt, who have either come out of Egypt or born in the desert and now going toward the promised land. Many generations before their time even in Egypt, God had said, I will make your descendants, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, I'll make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the skies, as numerous as the grains of sand on the seashore. And we're seeing that God is fulfilling that promise where there's just an abundance of descendants of Abraham now going to the promised land. And so that's what we see here in these first chapters of Numbers. As we get into the story, we're going to see how God has to again and again show his grace because of the sin and brokenness of this people called Israel, and see where God gives provision, gives salvation, and gives his abundant grace to his people.